Some people believe entitlement has no limits. But when entitlement collides with the law, reality strikes hard. That's exactly what happened when a self-proclaimed HOA Karen decided she had the right to treat someone else's multi-million-dollar lake mansion like her personal party venue. She didn't just cross a line, she bulldozed right through it. Without permission, without payment, and without the faintest sense of respect, she went ahead and reserved a stranger's property for an enormous gathering. Not 10, not 20, but 100 guests. Imagine the audacity. The property wasn't hers. The lakefront estate wasn't part of any HOA jurisdiction, and she had zero legal claim to it. Yet in her mind, she was entitled to do as she pleased. The mansion's owner, however, wasn't just wealthy, he was resourceful. He understood the law, and more importantly, he knew how to make it work in his favor. Instead of letting the insult slide, instead of simply calling the police or demanding an apology, he did something far more impactful. He went after every single person who dared to step foot on his property that night. 100 uninvited guests, 100 lawsuits, each claim valued at $100,000. Most people would have assumed this was an idle threat. After all, who has the time and resources to sue 100 individuals? But this wasn't an empty warning. This was a precise, calculated move backed by airtight legal grounds. The law is clear. Trespassing, unauthorized use of private property, and violation of personal rights come with consequences. And when you multiply those consequences by 100, the results are staggering. Word spread quickly. Guests who thought they were attending a free lakeside party suddenly found themselves facing crushing financial liability. Their laughter, their casual drinks, their carefree dancing on someone else's dock had transformed into evidence. Screenshots of invitations, photos on social media, and even their own bragging posts became court exhibits. There was no denying where they were, and there was no denying they had no right to be there. And the outcome? It wasn't just about teaching Karen a lesson. It wasn't just about holding freeloaders accountable. It was about proving a point that entitlement doesn't pay, and arrogance comes with a price tag. In the end, the mansion owner didn't just win. He walked away with enough financial compensation to turn an act of disrespect into one of the most profitable victories of his life. What makes the story so compelling is not just the scale of the incident, but the sheer boldness of the response. Most people would have settled quietly. Most would have complained, maybe even laughed it off as a bizarre episode. But this wasn't just about a property. This was about principle, justice, and the undeniable truth that no one, not even the loudest HOA Karen, is above the law. And that's where this unbelievable story begins. The lake mansion had always been a source of quiet pride for its owner. Nestled away from busy streets, with breathtaking views of the water and unmatched privacy, it represented both years of hard work and a safe haven from chaos. The idea that anyone, let alone an HOA busybody, could claim authority over it was laughable. Yet this is exactly what happened. The woman in question was notorious in the neighborhood. She wasn't on the HOA board, but she acted as if she ran the entire community. Rules didn't apply to her. Instead, she weaponized them against others. She was the type to measure grass lengths, leave passive-aggressive notes, and confront delivery drivers as though she were guarding a fortress. Her reputation was so toxic that even her allies kept their distance. But no one expected her arrogance to escalate this far. It started with rumors. Word began circulating that a community event was being planned at the lake mansion. At first, the owner brushed it off. How could anyone possibly plan something at a property that wasn't theirs? But soon, confirmation arrived in the most shocking way possible. Invitations, digital and physical, were being distributed. Social media posts openly named the mansion as the location. And the guest list? 100 people strong. The owner was stunned but calm. He didn't rush to confront Karen or beg her to cancel. Instead, he quietly gathered evidence. Every post, every invitation, every mention of his property was documented. He wanted a complete record of the brazen violation that was about to unfold. When the night arrived, the sight was almost surreal. Cars lined the road, people spilled out onto the lawn, and the mansion, his private sanctuary, was filled with strangers acting like they owned the place. Music blared, drinks flowed, and laughter echoed across the lake. But behind the scenes, something much bigger was in motion. The owner wasn't powerless, he was in control. The very next morning, legal action was set into motion. One by one, names from the guest list were identified. Some had signed in online, others had tagged themselves at the location. Every shred of evidence pointed directly to their involvement. And with that, 100 lawsuits were filed. Each one cited trespassing, unauthorized use of private property, and damages, all carrying a demand for $100,000 in compensation. Panic spread like wildfire. What was supposed to be a fun evening suddenly turned into a nightmare. Guests who thought they were merely showing support or attending a party were now defendants in a serious legal battle. Some pleaded ignorance, claiming they didn't know the property wasn't available for use. Others pointed fingers at Karen, insisting she was responsible for misleading them. But ignorance was no defense. The law doesn't excuse trespassing simply because someone else gave you bad information. Karen herself was hit the hardest. Not only was she personally sued, but she was also dragged into dozens of countersuits as guests tried to shift blame onto her. Her arrogance had set the chain reaction in motion, and now she was drowning in the consequences of her actions. As the cases proceeded, settlements began rolling in. Some guests paid quietly, desperate to avoid public embarrassment. Others fought but quickly realized the evidence was stacked against them. Slowly but surely, the mansion owner's legal strategy unfolded exactly as planned. By the time it was over, he had won millions in damages. The financial victory was monumental, but the message it sent was even greater. Neighbors who had once tolerated Karen's antics now saw her downfall as a long overdue reckoning. Entitlement, manipulation, and arrogance had finally caught up with her. For the mansion owner, the lawsuits were never about greed. They were about accountability. If people could so casually disregard private property rights, what protection would anyone have? By standing firm and pursuing justice, he ensured that no one would ever try something similar again. The story spread far beyond the community. Legal blogs covered it, social media amplified it, and people everywhere marveled at the boldness of suing 100 people simultaneously. It wasn't just a neighborhood dispute, it became a cautionary tale about respecting boundaries, understanding consequences, and never underestimating the resolve of someone determined to defend their rights. In the end, the Lake Mansion stood as more than just a home. It became a symbol of